Tallinn, or the Red Lady of the Baltic, as some call Estonia's capital city, was dressed out in blue in April. This was to host the last outside Brussels meeting of the EU Parliament Group Presidency and the national delegation heads of the European People's Party before this June's elections. Around 100 centre-right politicians talked about their group's values and the EU's challenges for 2 days. Estonia has 6 Euro MPs in the outgoing legislature, one in the group of the European People's Party European Democrats EPP-ED. Group President Joseph Daul is French.
We're a reformist party. I don't like the word conservative, adapting Europe to what's happening in the world.
The EPP-ED is the only group in the Parliament with members from each of the 27 countries in the EU, 288 members in total, from Christian Democrat, Conservative and other centre-right parties. The ED part, European Democrats, non-federalists like the British Tories, are associates in the same group, but they don't vote along identical lines. The EPP-ED has been the dominant group in the Assembly since 1999. Its positions have carried the day on several important occasions, such as recommendations concerning climate change, toy safety or roaming charges, but the group is now splitting up. The Tories, taking their cue from their leader David Cameron, say they intend to form another group in the new legislature with Czech Eurosceptics, among others. Timothy Kirkhope is head of the EPP-ED's British delegation.
I wouldn't define this as being a question of looking for Eurosceptics. I think what it is looking for people in the European Union, delegations, political representatives, who actually are with us in favour of European reform. I won't say that we are essentially just Eurosceptic, but we certainly are part of the centre-right of the Parliament. The centre-right will be able to work together, I think, on a lot of things that will occur in the Parliament. So we intend to continue good relations with the EPP after we have set up our own new group.
The EPP's Polish chief delegate Jacek Saryusz-Wolski weighs up the effects of this departure.
Our group will be more central after the departure of Czechs and Britons and will be more Christian Democrat. So we'll be slightly weaker, which is our regret, but at the same time we'll be more coherent in our attitudes and views.
With the exception of the ED, all the other members of the biggest parliament group are EPP, the European People's Party, founded in 1976 with 1950s roots. Its transnational nature was a first. It counts 74 centre-right political formations from 38 countries in all, counting EU, Baltic and Caucasus states. Having grown to this size, its structuring includes its own means of communication. Since February, in view of the coming European elections, the party launched Dialogue TV in English on the internet.
Especially for the European elections, we have 5 topics. We have climate change, demographic change, a prosperous Europe, a safer Europe, and Europe's role in the world. But the emphasis is on getting out there, talking to the citizens, hearing their point of view, and trying to enter into dialogue with the experts, the politicians, the MEPs, the members of the European Parliament, European Commissions, and the citizens.
So far, the operation is up to 18,000 web hits per month.
That's worth fighting for.
The group's web television has been running since June 2007 in English, German, French and Spanish. EPP-ED TV.
Bonjour et bienvenue dans l'une des salles de commission parlementaire du Parlement européen.
Another contributor to centre-right communication is the European Ideas Network, a think tank with around 500 politicians, business entrepreneurs, journalists and civil society representatives, set up in 2002, EIN.
One isn't limited in the EIN group. One doesn't think party, is that all right? What does this person or that person think? That's a kind of freedom for researchers and scientists and politicians in the group, and who are venturing out to prepare the future. I believe that has to be done. That's why it was created, not to mince words. One can take one's proposals quite far, knowing that afterwards the party and the group choose the topics and set the limits.
Discrete voices concede this maze can be disorienting. The party Secretariat General provides a kind of anchor, but the momentum of political action comes out of the work the group does.
So the scope of action of EPP party is wider than EPP fraction. At the same time, the work of the EPP fraction is the most important part of the work of our political family because it has an impact on three major areas. First, legislation, and even bigger if we get a new treaty, a budget, and foreign policy. So this is the crucial part of our political family activities in European Union, which is European Parliament.
Relations with Russia, the EU's external borders, safety and security were all debated in Tallinn. Estonia joined the European Union just 5 years ago at the same time as 9 other countries, almost all of which are former communist states. What did this add to the group?
What did they bring the EPP and me as its president? I'm from Alsace. I know what our families lived through in Alsace during the war and what these people lived through with 60 years of communism. What they brought us was reflection on what they suffered. They help us to recenter our thoughts in a new context.
The conference participants paid a visit to Tallinn's Patarei prison, converted from fortress to penitentiary in 1919, later used by the Soviet occupiers. It was big enough for 2,000 inmates, but they would cram in more than double that. Estonians today have other worries. Their economy got off to a roaring start after independence and then joining the EU, but today it's in trouble like anyone else's. How do they feel about Europe? Well, only a quarter of them voted in 2004, and about a third of them are expected to vote in the upcoming European elections.
Those very pessimistic prognoses are worrying. There is something wrong in our communication with the citizens. It's for scientists and sociologists to answer. I think that Union is not sufficiently present in the national debates.
The EPP-ED intends to remain in the European Parliament's front line. It will also take into account the priorities of Sweden's EU presidency in the second half of this year, giving Europe a certain northern focus.